So is it sensible, in your opinion, to pause the stage 3 tax cuts in favour of easing cost of living measures?
Well, I saw the reports in the paper, but they're not from the Treasurer, so I'm not going to steal the Treasurer's thunder. He can make any announcements that he thinks fit in his portfolio, and I'll make announcements that I believe we need to make in mine. So I'll concentrate on inland rail and roads across Australia and dams, which is incredibly important, developing new sections of Australia and building on what we've done in places such as the Burdekin, making sure our nation's as strong as possible, as quickly as possible, and I'll let the Treasurer talk about tax rates.
OK, well, fair enough. But given the places that you travel to and the people that you speak to, what is, in your view, the best way to ease cost of living pressures?
For Mr. Putin to get the hell out of the Ukraine would be a great start. I mean, this is the source of so many of our problems. 30% of the world's wheat comes from the Ukraine, and barley comes from the Ukraine and the west of Russia. Of course, that filters through to all your food prices, right through to cattle, because they're grain-fed cattle, bread, the whole lot. You've got fuel, energy. 40% of Europe's energy comes out of the Ukraine. This is what's driving up fuel prices. This is all. You can focus this on the actions of a single person in deciding to walk into a democracy of 44 million people and basically murder people. That's where it comes down to. And I don't know how you stop that. It's all we have a job to do in Australia is to become as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. I'm going to keep saying that until it makes people sick, because everybody's got a role to play in that. They're export products. We've got to get.
Yeah, but cost of living pressures, they were already on the way up before Putin invaded Ukraine. Inflation was already on the way up. When you're looking at fuel prices, I mean, it wasn't so long ago that fuel was $1 a litre prior to the invasion, and now we're nudging $2.30. So does that mean that the measures that were in place were not working?
Well, it's not going to be helped by the Labor Party bringing in their safeguard mechanism, which is going to basically put a carbon tax on our last 2 oil refineries. I don't think that's going to help us at all. What we have to make sure is that we continue our sovereign capacity to produce fuel, and the Labor Party's alternative is to tax our refiners, the last 2 of them in Australia, to be honest. And so, yes, fuel was going up, but now, of course, it's exacerbated. 40% of the energy requirements for Europe come out of Russia and the Ukraine. And, you don't have to be Pythagoras to work out what happens next to fuel prices.
Well, do you believe that the fuel excise needs to be pulled or cut altogether?
Well, I'm not going to entertain speculation before the budget. Obviously, people should know what the excise is used for. It's used for your roads. And, of course, if you're going to reduce what you earn, you're going to reduce what you can spend. Now, that's a decision that may be made or may not be made. I'll leave that in the hands of the Treasurer. Once more, it's his remit. So I'll let him speak for it.
OK, well, but Matt Canavan made an interesting point yesterday, suggesting that to do that would be a panicked measure, because we're already seeing the price of oil drop to $96 US overnight. So is there really a need to do that? Is there really a need to touch that?
Well, in a budget, all sources of revenue through that budget process, through the ERC process, Expenditure Review Committee process, are taken into consideration in one form or another. And but what's the point of having a budget night if you announce everything in the budget beforehand? And if you start cutting and dicing it, ruling in, ruling out, well, people can pretty quickly work out what's in your budget. I think that the really important point is to understand that what is happening in the Ukraine is having an effect. We had one day on the European market where nickel prices went up $75,000. Now, nickel makes stainless steel. I wonder what they want that for.
Just on to the US, which is threatening China with sanctions, if we were to follow and put some of our sanctions on China as well, what kind of blowback could we face here?
Yet another reason to become as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. If the world wants to buy it, we've got to sell it, whether that's coal, iron ore, gas, live cattle, live sheep, grain, cotton, rice, tourism, education, because we have to bring the money into our nation from as many sources as possible. Our nation makes money by exports, and then we spin it around by the service industry and what you're seeing here in Sydney at the door of this studio. That spins the money around, but the source of it, where it comes from, is your export of products that most people never see: iron ore, coal, gas, cattle, sheep, a bit of tourism and education, certainly there in the mix. But of the top 10 that supports your standard of living, your health system, your NDIS, your pensions, all those things that you just take for that we sometimes take for granted. Well, 8 out of those 10 come from regional Australia, and they're exports predominantly of minerals and agricultural products. And we've got to make sure we build on our strengths so that we can support our nation in the future. So if we want to grow the economy, we've got to invest where we make money.
So it'd be a bad idea. Bad idea to sanction China then?
Sorry?
So it'd be a bad idea to put sanctions on?
I'm not going to start foreshadowing our relationship with China. I will say, China. We're in a difficult situation. Obviously, people are very aware of what happens in South China Sea, Uyghur people. We are very aware of that. It's also a major trading partner. So, we hope. What I hope is that the world takes a breath and realises that it's a win-win situation, and we all become wealthier, we have a better standard of living, we reach down and take more people out of poverty if there's peace. But if there's war, if you want to become poorer, then war's a great start, and I'm sure that Chinese people and the Chinese government would be looking across at Russia and saying that's not working out well for them, is it? And that Chinese are wise, they're not going to make stupid decisions.